Come on in, pull up a chair, and take a load off because today I'll be taking a first look and paging through the Ruins of Symbaroum 5e Bestiary from Free League Publishing. And we will dive in and peek at these creepies and crawlies right after this. Howdy, 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 gang. Welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang channel. As I mentioned in the open, today I'm going to take a first look and page through the Ruins of Symbaroum 5e Bestiary from Free League Publishing. It's written by Mattias Johnsson Haake, Mattias Lilja, and Jacob Rodgers, with artwork provided by Martin Grip. This 236-page hardcover is going to carry an MSRP of $44.99. Do want to mention PDFs for Ruins of Symbaroum are not available just yet. So, should also point out that the backers of the Kickstarter, which was very, very popular, are receiving their copies now. You can pre-order the Ruins of Symbaroum books on the Free League Publishing website. They're pointing out that early June is their date for delivery. And I am seeing from distributors, they're pointing out the Ruins of Symbaroum books are not going to arrive in retail until August. So just want to point that out. That said, let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got the Bestiary for Ruins of Symbaroum 5e. If you've been hanging out watching the live streams this week, you know I've been featuring Ruins of Symbaroum 5e. I was supposed to take a look at this on Wednesday, but because we had some internet issues here in the Duct Tape Studios on Tuesday, I ended up taking a look at the player's guide on Monday. We couldn't get a stream to actually launch without dropping like half the frames on Tuesday, so there really was no stream. Then on Wednesday, I took a look at the Game Master's Guide. And now today, I'm going to share a first look at the Bestiary. Gotta say, pretty impressive so far. I'm a fan of Symbaroum in the first place. I find it to be a very, very cool setting. Got a nice dark fairy tale vibe to it. And we'll talk about that a little bit as we peek on through. So, a couple of things I do want to mention before I dive on in. First off, the fine folks over at Free League Publishing were kind enough to provide me with this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share my coverage with you. These days, it's important that you know that. Also, I'm going to stay picture in picture up here. So as we look through the book, I'm going to end up cutting off a little bit of the upper left portion. We're not going to look at each and every page, but I do want to give you a very good feel for what you're going to find in this bestiary. So let's take a look at the back here. Explorers beware. More than 100 creatures, monsters, and abominations are crammed together between these covers, some of them well known, others only mentioned in legends and fairy tales. Some unstoppably hungry, others open in negotiations. Some presented in detail, others with only short descriptions. Call them bestials, night swarmers, ill goblins, neferani, or skull biters. The creatures of Symbaroum are all capable of turning your forest expedition into a terrifying nightmare. Dun, dun, dun. All right, let's jump on in. So we're going to find over 100 creatures in here. So we're going to start off. We've got the Hordes of the Eternal Night, beasts and monsters, adversaries, adaptation and expansion. And that is going to be the contents of this bestiary. So we're going to dive on in. We've got Hordes of the Eternal Night. It is likely true that few people, if any, know as much about the lawgiver's enemies as I do. I know them all, from the hugest abominations to the smallest glint, from the oldest arc troll to the youngest blight spawn. I've heard the legends, studied the accounts, examined both cadavers and living specimens. Still, I have no definite answer to the question that meets me more often than others. Which is the most abominable monster under Prios' sky? All right, so we've got the Arax. So, is that what that? I believe that's what that is right there. The font doesn't make it easy to make out. I'm pretty sure it's Arax. Oh, there we go. Yes, Arax Exalted, Arax Poison. The Bestial. So as you can see, we're going to get a bit of background, bit of information about these creatures, and we're going to get some stat blocks as well. As already pointed out on the back cover, some of these are going to go into a lot more detail than others. If you have not been watching the live streams this past week, let me kind of explain that Ruins of Symbaroum is a 5th edition port of Symbaroum, which is from Free League Publishing. It is a very, very cool dark fantasy setting. It is not a grim dark setting. I like to point that out all the time because in Symbaroum, the great evil has been defeated, but at a terrible cost. Humanity has almost been wiped out. And this has a very cool European sort of fairy tale vibe to the proceedings. And the creatures are very cool. The adventures, which have not started to arrive for 5e yet, that I've actually had a chance to peek at, are always very unique, not the same old, and that's the same with the setting itself as well. So the player characters will normally be adventurers who are exploring the deep, dark forest of Davakar and running across various different entities who are at best neutral towards humans and at worst looking to make a snack of humans or slaves of humans. I love the fact that we have a lot of what appears to be kind of like Nordic folklore and legend in this game as well, which I really appreciate. I talk about it all the time. I love the changelings. That is a fairly universal kind of folk tale. I know it's big in Ireland, where they're effectively kind of like elves. They're fae. I know that for a fact. Well, I mean, that's the legend. I mean, they're not real. And they'll steal away babies and replace them. And actually, one of the character classes, one of the character races, I should say, in Ruins of Symbaroum is an abducted human who is returned. So, pretty wild. Just taking a look through, as you can see, very, very cool artwork from Martin Grip throughout here. So you've got the glint. We've got the ill goblin. Pretty creepy. So anyway, so the player characters are exploring effectively. It doesn't always have to be Davakar. There is a campaign that takes the player characters all across the world, and that is, I would assume, that is something that is on the horizon for Ruins of Symbaroum. It is a campaign, a multi-part campaign that has been out for Symbaroum for quite some time. The King Toad. Toad laid as delicacy. So the nobility and the elites are always looking for It says new culinary experiences, including the meat from a king toad's thighs. Jeez. So what you can see here is we get some adventure setup. So we're getting some kind of adventure hooks or some advice for the game master on how to utilize that particular entry in adventures. We get a few different variations on most of these, I believe. I got to point out, this is the first time I've taken a peek at this book. Of course, I have reviewed the Bestiary for Symbaroum, so we are seeing a lot of the same artwork, of course, the same creatures as well. Same kind of approach with the adventure setup, then the stat blocks and information like that. The nightmare. Nightmares are disembodied ghouls that move between various unwitting hosts in constant search of more corrupted ones. Yes. Ghouls doing what ghouls do, eating flesh. But as I mentioned, this is a dark setting, but it is not an overwhelmingly oppressive setting. The world is not ending. That calamity has been averted. So many of the adventures that the player characters are going to embark on are going to be kind of smaller in scope, but much more personal. So you're not going to see, well, at least I don't think you'll see adventures where your player characters are off there, changing the world and becoming demigods or anything like that. It's a kind of a more self-contained, more personal sort of role-playing game, at least in my opinion. It is not a high fantasy setting, but it is a fantasy setting. This is not necessarily a low fantasy or low magic setting. It just it's different tonally than what you would find in most high fantasy world settings. All right, so now we're going to get into beasts and monsters. So we got the abominations. Now there are different abominations. There are quite a few different types, as you can see here. We got some herbivores, predators, the hunger wolf, the Viron. Viron are cave-dwelling reptiles that can be encountered anywhere in the underworld. They have no eyes, are covered in milky white scales that darken with age, and can grow up to 15 feet long from snout to tail. Hunting spiders. Yes, we have different giant spiders. We're going to see there is a race of creatures. They are duck creatures. If you are familiar with RuneQuest, you kind of know where I'm going. I wonder if they're in this. I know they're like the last section in the Bestiary for Symbaroum, and you actually have the opportunity to play them as a player character race. So now we get some different adversaries. So we get the elves. The elves are quite different in Symbaroum. Once again, they're not your typical fantasy elves. They are much more in line with how Fae are treated in folklore as opposed to role-playing games. So we've got the outsiders, which are cultists. Then we've got different sort of bandits, plunderers, the people of Devakar, people of the Queen. So these are all the forces that fought against the Dark Lords in the battle that saved all of the world here. So we've got trolls who aren't necessarily evil. Trolls aren't necessarily evil in this game. So we get into our monster categories, our monster features. Layer actions as well. Terrain features. Using other resources. Talking about an open game license monsters and the original Symbaroum. There we go. They're called Andrix. There you go. There are the duck folk. It says of all the world's creatures, the Andric is probably the most peculiar. These descendants of ordinary ducks were deformed by dark powers into a caricature of other cultural beings, a fact that has not escaped other folks, nor the Andrax themselves. So there you go. Nice. All right, so then we get our stat blocks, alphabetically, challenge rating, and by type. And our open game license info is our final page. Of course, do want to point out we've got our handy dandy nice bookmark as well, which we find in our Free League publishing books. Always love our bookmarks. Sometimes we get multiple bookmarks. And there we have Ruins of Symbaroum 5E's Bestiary from Free League Publishing. Of course, you are going to see or read. I might actually assign Ruins of Symbaroum to one of my role-playing game reviewers, because I've done reviews of Symbaroum, so maybe get a bit of a different take. But there will be reviews of the Ruins of Symbaroum 5e books in the near future. All right, that is it for this time out. If you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, ding that bell. It'll not only let you know when I upload videos such as this first look, it'll also inform you when my live stream, the Gaming Gang Dispatch, airs Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. And of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you won't find here on the YouTube channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Thank you so much for watching. And of course, until I see you next time, here's hoping each and every one of you out there get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang. Oh, hey, you're still here. Well, if that's the case, by all means, subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel by clicking right here. Check out the latest episode of the Gaming Gang Dispatch, or find out what YouTube recommends you check out from the channel. And of course, once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks for watching.